So next we have an all-star lineup for a panel on cryptocurrency across borders. This industry faces a lot of challenges, but also is in the most revolutionary time for moving funds globally. This panel is sponsored by BitPay, which is a founding donor and longtime supporter of BitGive. The panel is also moderated by Rumi Morales. If you hadn't met Rumi earlier, she is BitGive's president. She's also a partner at Outlier Ventures. Rumi has led BitGive through the past few years of change and transition, and we're very lucky to have her. Rumi, I'll hand it off to you to introduce yourself and the panelists.
Thank you so much, Connie. Thanks to everyone who's watching and listening and learning and hopefully loving all of this online. We really appreciate you joining us on our first ever De-Phi conference here on Charitable Crypto for Good with BitGive. It's so honored to be with this amazing panel of battle-tested, I think, very sophisticated crypto professionals in this space. I know for those newcomers in here, it can be a little bit challenging to make sense of everything that's happening in the cryptocurrency space. Try to understand, with this panel in particular, how to be able to utilize crypto internationally. I think for those who've seen some of the videos that we've been showing throughout this conference, you're seeing wonderful examples in different countries. The question is, how can we then work across our borders to really enable crypto and crypto giving for good? So what I was hoping to do in our almost 50 minutes that we have here today is, after introducing this illustrious panel or having them introduce themselves, we'll run through some areas such as, exactly how crypto is used for cross-border transactions, some of the biggest challenges in doing so, and have some talk about some special personal case studies or personal stories, because there can be very unique experiences, but hopefully those lessons can translate across borders. We'll talk a little bit about the process of giving in crypto and ultimately what global charities should keep in mind as they venture into the crypto space. So with that, I will ask the panelists to introduce themselves, starting with my fellow board member, Dawn Newton from Netkey. Dawn, if you'd like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Netkey.
Absolutely. So I am the founder and COO of Netkey, and we do Know Your Customer. In this case, for all the charities, it would be Know Your Donor. And what we do is enable compliant transactions for digital currency to make it safe for everybody to participate.
Thank you. And Bob?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'm Bob Rutherford. I'm the VP of Global Ops at BitGo. BitGo is one of the largest cryptocurrency custodians in the world. We've been around since 2013 and provide custody services to some of the charities that we've been discussing today. So we're happy to be here and talk more cross-border payments.
Thanks so much, Bob. Sunny, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, my name is Sunny. I'm one of the co-founders of UnoCoin. We're India's first Bitcoin platform. We've been around since December 2013 and really happy to be here.
And you're speaking from probably the coolest space I've seen yet amongst the panelists. I feel like you're going to break out a crypto for good song or something like that. It's really cool. And then Stephen.
Hi, thanks, Rumi. I'm Stephen Pear, co-founder and CEO of BitPay. We've been around since 2011, and we process payments. We help companies accept cryptocurrency for payments. And being around since 2011, I think it makes us the oldest cryptocurrency or blockchain company in the world today. So we're really proud of that, coming up on our 10-year anniversary next year. So if you're a company out there and you need help with accepting cryptocurrency for payments, we can help you out with that. And we do a lot on the charitable giving side of things as well, and have a number of charities on our platform that accept cryptocurrency for charitable causes.
Terrific. Thanks so much. And as always, for the attendees, feel free to ask any Q&A online, and we'll be sure to answer those either verbally or write our answers to you, but hopefully we'll be able to address all your questions in person. Additionally, you should be able to see a link in the chat as well. As you know, the price of Bitcoin's been doing pretty well these days. And we're also now approaching the season of giving. If you would like to be part of everything that BitGive is working on, as well as once you hear everything that these panelists are going to talk to you about with the importance and the ease of crypto giving, please feel free to make your US tax deductible gift to BitGive at the link that you'll find in the chat. So getting started, let's just talk about almost the basics. You know, that this title is called, the title of this panel is called Cryptocurrency Across Borders. So perhaps we'll start, perhaps Stephen, with you. You started talking about some of how someone would go actually doing cross-border payments or especially for charitable giving. Can you talk a little bit about some of the advantages of why somebody would want to do that, doing crypto across borders for philanthropic good?
Yeah, sure. You mentioned the tax advantages of donating. So when a donor, at least in the U.S., when a donor goes to donate, if you donate an asset like a stock or cryptocurrency, you can write off the full amount, the full market value of that asset when you make the donation. So if you have an asset that has a lot of capital gains, as opposed to selling it and then paying taxes, another alternative you could do is to donate that to a charity, and you get the benefit of writing off the full amount. So usually, you know, when people consider donating, particularly if it's a substantial amount of money, they're usually looking at their investments and trying to, you know, and seeing which ones have the greatest capital gains, because that's going to be the most tax advantaged way to donate. And, consequently, a lot of times for people in the cryptocurrency community, that's, you know, Bitcoin or one of the cryptocurrencies that they hold. And so particularly this time of year, and on top of that, when we see, you know, a big rise in the price of cryptocurrencies like we do right now, it's very common that this time of year, when people are typically donating, we'll get charitable organizations coming to us and say, hey, I've got this donor that would like to donate, but they need to donate in cryptocurrency. Can you help me out with that? And, you know, we know the whole drill. We've gone through all the analysis and research and know exactly how to do that and make sure that the donor gets the tax advantages from donating their cryptocurrency, and that then we deliver that to the charity in the form that they want it, typically dollars or whatever currency their local currency is. But we know the whole drill, and we do that for quite a number of charities, actually.
Thanks. I guess the first question that at least comes to my mind is, well, you can always give in any form of currency, whether it's crypto or dollars. And so I was wondering, Don, maybe if you can answer, well, what's good about crypto, right? What is important about using cryptocurrency, especially for international giving?
Right. So if you think about, you know, things that happen, you know, around the world, you know, devastating hurricanes happen that wind up killing, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. You know, a lot of times the traditional banking systems aren't, you know, ready and available to, you know, help those people. And also the way we've done things in the past, you know, I've been in philanthropy for 40 years. You know, it used to be, and I'm Americanizing this because I'm American, you know, apologies. But, you know, people give money to the Red Cross, and then the Red Cross goes and takes that money and then gives it out to all the, you know, charities wherever, you know, the event is occurring. In 2017, the Red Cross lost $5 million. Whoops. So $5 million in aid did not reach the countries and the people that needed the help. And so when you're dealing with, you know, companies like BitGo and BitPay, you know, and you're doing, you know, essentially a point-to-point transfer, that's you going directly to the charity rather than having to take the money and having it go to the Red Cross and then the Red Cross earmarking it for subsequent charities, you know, in other countries as the devastation hits. That's a lot more powerful. That is getting money to people that are in dire need exactly, you know, when they need it, and incredibly quickly. So that to me is a huge game changer of how we used to do things in a very centralized way, and you know, turn our monies over to other big large entities, and then have it go to the entities that are actually, and the people that are actually in need.
Right. I'm hoping everyone can still see me. I'm told that my own internet connection is unstable, so if I'm frozen, I apologize, but at least I can hear you. But if I need to turn off my video for a second and come back on, I will. Yeah, I think those are incredibly significant, powerful points that you made, Don. But there are also challenges here, right? Bob, on the pre-call, we were talking a little bit about some of the challenges, in particular with administration. Would you mind digging into some of those issues a little bit for us?
Yeah, thanks for me. I mean, for somebody who is thinking about using or accepting cryptocurrencies in their charity, it can be pretty intimidating, some of the problems that may or may not exist. You know, this is a sort of bleeding edge technology, but I don't want anybody in the audience to be intimidated by that. We don't need to understand all of the technical implications of blockchains and private keys. Like, let's put that to the side, because there are people like BitGo and like BitPay who can take care of those problems for you. But there are incredible benefits that come along with some of those challenges, right? So when we think about why this is revolutionary and why you should accept it for your charity, you know, we know that there are problems with the cost of administering charities, with transparency, with like Dawn said, with the speed of putting funds in the hands of the people who need it most. And these are some of the things that cryptocurrencies solve. These are the core tenets, the core fundamentals of why they exist. To give you an example, I've worked at a number of places, Visa and JP Morgan. So cross-border payments are sort of in my blood, so to speak. We used to make the joke that it was cheaper and faster to send $1 million in a briefcase via FedEx to, you know, places around the world than it was to send a wire on the SWIFT system. Blockchain solves that. We send millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a day for, you know, $1 in June. I think maybe it's a $4.50 or $5 now. The ability to send that amount of money to a partner, to even individuals around the world in a matter of minutes is unparalleled. I mean, you just can't get that kind of sort of efficiency. And then the other thing is, you know, I think a common misconception is that blockchains are anonymous. And they're almost the exact opposite. They're pseudonymous, meaning I don't know a name, but when it comes to transparency for the people making a donation to your organization, they can see the transfers happen. They can see that I've donated my $1 million to your organization, and that you've distributed that to people in need. And it's all available publicly. That's the power of public blockchains, is that you know, there is transparency there. We can all see what's going on. So, you know, there are some challenges. There are reliable people in the space like BitGo, like BitPay, who can handle these things for you. But they come with incredible benefits: transparency, cost, speed. You know, not to mention sort of all of the people in the world who you might be opening up the ability for them to donate to your organization by accepting cryptocurrencies.
Right. Thanks for those inspirational words that I really do believe as well. And yet I'm going to throw out some more hurdles out there, especially when we think about cross-border stuff. You run into different governments, you run into different regulators with varying views of what this is. Sunny, I'm going to call on you for your thoughts on some of the regulatory issues as a challenge for international crypto payments and giving in particular.
Well, that's my favorite topic.
Yeah, I knew it.
No, I first of all, before I got into that, I did want to double down on what others said, and just reinforce that if I was somebody accepting a donation. The reason I would want to be making sure that I can open myself to this new world of like crypto entrepreneurs and people, investors, is because the price of Bitcoin in the last 10 years, has gone up more than any asset class in the history of mankind. I think it's like 9 or 10 million%. So that there's a lot of new wealth that's been created there. And these people, like the Pineapple Fund that that Connie shared in a recent video that we did together, which was just fascinating, where somebody just decided, somebody anonymously, just out of the goodness of their heart, said that they wanted to give $60 million away to charities. And so I know BitPay played a hand in executing that, and BitGive had a big hand as well. But I just thought that was marvelous. Number one, I thought the fact that Bitcoin operates 24/7 and you're not held back by, you don't have to wait till a Bitcoin location is open on a Monday or anything like that. I think that is another big advantage. So on a weekend or a weekday or evening or morning or night, whenever you want, you can just zap your money over. The millions of % of growth that Bitcoiners have experienced, they can zap it over and help people in need. And on a personal note, that's where I really where it resonated, because when I was living in India, when the Nepal earthquake had happened, just a few of our friends wanted to quickly mobilize and raise some money and figure out how to get it to the hands of people in Nepal. And it was just remarkable how easy that was to do that. And that really opened my eyes to how awesome Bitcoin can be. On the regulatory front, so our company a couple of years ago faced some major challenges. The central bank said that they didn't want banks working with crypto companies. We challenged that, and the Supreme Court, after 2 years, decided to rule in our favor, and banking's back. When we talk about cross-border, it's actually not the central bank; it's another group of regulators that would be responsible for that. From what I know, however, and again, I'm not a lawyer, people should definitely talk to their legal advisors about this stuff, but capital controls, which do exist in India, are more pertinent to money leaving the country. So if people are looking to donate money into India, especially, there's not too many hurdles or any concerns that I'm aware of, and the tax advantages and whatnot are surely there as well. So, but yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but I wanted to make sure I explained why I thought crypto is awesome as a form of giving.
Right. Now, and you did. You answered both the question as well as sharing your enthusiasm. Your point on the central banks is, I think, an important one. And it also touches for me this question, though, of still many people thinking, well, even if you like crypto or Bitcoin, you're getting that used to it, it can still seem perhaps is not as legitimate as some other forms of money. Many central banks, regulators, as you know, are not being anti virtual currencies, but trying to develop their own in the form of a central bank digital currency or something called a CBDC. I will just throw this out there to the panel. I don't know if people have a view, but do you see Bitcoin and crypto as just transitional for now? And then in the future, people will just be using, central bank or fiat money in digital form, or will there always be a room and a role for Bitcoin to play, even if people may not consider it to be as legitimate?
I think there's always a room. I think if you look at what I would call the native cryptocurrencies, so that would be like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, the ones that are the native token for the blockchain. That token is essential to create the incentive structure or the incentive mechanism to secure that database. So without that, though, the blockchain doesn't work. So from that perspective, it's like this new digital commodity that incentivizes securing a database. And so for that reason, they will always be there. I think they're not going away. But I also, if you think of it just from a currency perspective and a payments perspective, I don't think there's anything, there clearly is nothing wrong with the government issuing its own currency. And I think for a lot of reasons, a government that does have its own currency, it's a great financing tool for that government. They can collect taxes in their currency. They can pay their employees in their currency. And, they're going to put that on a blockchain. At least that's our thesis, right? Because a blockchain happens to be the best, I would say the best database when you think about it in a larger context. It's a new emerging database technology. When you look at the Bitcoin database, it's a database that's been around for 10 plus years and never been compromised. So it makes sense to put a lot of stuff on a blockchain. So I think, the national currencies will definitely be put onto a blockchain. So, but if you look at a national currency, and maybe you look at something like Facebook Libra, their objective is to manipulate supply so that over long periods of time, you have a relatively stable value of the currency or stable price for the currency. And there's a need for that, just like there's a need for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies where it's separate from the government and the supply cannot be manipulated. And so that supply function is fixed. And so the price is going to fluctuate in response to market demand. And I think you need both. And there are different use cases. When you think about long dated contracts, you want to denominate those contracts in more stable currencies that maintain stability over long periods of time. But for a variety of other reasons, you also need currencies like, currencies like the native blockchain tokens like Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Those are fantastic points. Bob, sorry, were you going to add something?
Yeah, just 2 or 3 quick things. I think to Sonny's point, when it comes to regulators, for those of you on the phone or on the line who may be thinking like, oh, like what does that mean? This isn't the wild west anymore. You have people like Netkey, first of all, can solve some of your know your donor problems. But Bitcoin is quickly becoming a regulated asset all over the world, just like any other asset is. So we need not worry about, can we deal in this? I think there are plenty of providers out there who can solve those problems for you from a regulated status. And then from a central banking currency status, I think this is a really interesting conversation. Maybe it's not talked about enough. And that, are all of the dollars in the U.S. supply in physical circulation? No, they exist digitally already. And the Federal Reserve's been trying to solve some of the problems that digital currencies solve right now. And that is, if it costs 2 cents to create a penny, we're losing money minting pennies. I was at another company before BitGo called Dwala, and we were on the Federal Reserve's Faster Payments Committee. And we've spent years now trying to make payments faster for all of the rails in the U.S. Well, the digital currency solves that. So when we look at these, it need not be one or the other. Bitcoin will continue to have its role in the financial community, as Stephen said, but central banks are starting to see the benefits inherent in utilizing blockchain technology to issue their own tokens. So we're only going to see an increase in the availability and the sort of number of participants in these technologies and in these markets. And it's exciting. It's something that you should lean into, definitely.
Right. I think those are great points. We're not talking about a substitute. We're talking about complements, just to make, the universe, the financial universe better for more people.
Right.
Don,
I just wanted to add when Connie first conceived, GiveTrack, and her and I were talking early on, charities were hesitant. So I want to talk about the legitimacy from the charity's point of view, right? The charity was like, oh, do we take it? And there still is, and in the charities that I'm speaking with, some hesitancy there. Like, do I take it? Is it in and of itself legitimate? And so I just wanted to put out that, people might not realize, but the FEC, which is the Federal Elections Commission in the US, has come up with guidance on how political campaigns can accept digital currency donations. And that's in an environment where they have deep concerns around hacker interference, foreign interference. And so there's something that they consider, to be, much sketchier than doing a charitable donation by a long shot. So it says that the governments recognize the legitimacy of this currency if they're going to allow political donations to take in, which means that charities too can also now take it in, and they should be aware of that. And especially when they can work with companies like BitGo and BitPay that are incredibly seasoned in doing it, there is messaging that shows that this is, valid, legitimate finance, monies.
Right. No, I love all of your messages. I think for those who are less familiar with cryptocurrency, as you're hearing from the panelists, there's a lot to give one comfort these days about the ability to use this safely and securely, legally, all these things that you may hear about as reasons not to do it. I think from these experts, you hear all the reasons to do it. But I was then wondering, I mean, Sunny, you had mentioned earlier your experience with Nepal. As those in our audience are thinking about when they might want to use this or what to give to, every circumstance can sometimes seem a little bit unique depending on your situation and what you're passionate about. So I was wondering, maybe Sunny, we'll start with you, but I would love to hear some other stories from the other panelists too on times when you've tried to use crypto for international giving, or when you've helped somebody to do so.
Hey, Rumi, I wanted to just maybe make one thing clear. I don't know if this is already mentioned, but people who are accepting donations in Bitcoin, so first of all, I agree that a lot of politicians and regulators are opening up to crypto, but let's say you still had concerns around that. That's even more of a reason to use services like BitPay and even UnoCoin if you're in India, because we essentially convert the Bitcoin into rupees or dollars or whatever it is. And that way you don't need to explain to your finance person or your, your co-founders about, now Bitcoin on your balance sheet. You can actually have services converted in. So there's actually very little reason to, I guess, not accept it. And then on the Pineapple Fund, as I mentioned, I thought that was interesting, just because there are a lot of, I guess the point I was trying to make earlier is that there are a lot of people who've made a lot of wealth in this space and, probably more money than they know what to do with. And especially now with Bitcoin prices going up again, I can imagine a lot of people wanting to, to give back, right? Especially it's that season of the year as well, right?
Right, but I think the interesting thing about the Pineapple Fund in this particular instance is they were able to do it without, as you like, putting a target on their back. Right? Like, I got money, come after me. But it does provide that level of.
And I know a lot of the times, like, anonymity sometimes is seen as like a bad thing. But some people, maybe this person they don't want, like you said, a target on their back, or they don't want to put a big flag out saying, hey, I gave this money to these charities. They just wanted to do something good. So I think it is interesting that crypto opens up that avenue for those who are just looking to do good without credit.
And you had mentioned as well in our earlier call when we were just chatting, your own experience, actually, because we're talking about giving as if we're going from a developed country to a developing country, but you had
well, no, it was kind of like to what Don was saying, I think earlier too, is I was in Bangalore back in like 2012 or something, and I was just at that time really getting into Bitcoin, fascinated by gold, and I think it was like Hurricane Sandy or something that had hit New York, and I was just thinking to myself, like, if I wanted to help some of my friends there, how would I do that with gold? It was that I'd have to wait till Monday or Tuesday. I'd have to liquidate it and then take that cash, walk it over to a bank, wait a week or whatever it is for the wire to clear. And by then, maybe they don't even need the help anymore. And so I just found it fascinating that the Bitcoin, again, whether it was like the Nepal example or the New York one, it's like, you're just able to move it from anywhere to anywhere just instantly, like a teleportation device, right? So I think it's just fascinating, and yeah, I think it's perfect for giving in every way.
Does anyone else have a story that they want to share of a specific use case or instance that you use crypto or it helped it for an international giving or charitable event?
Yeah, sure. We have a number of clients. So, in the payment space, we've experienced, sort of issues, right? Getting money into the hands of the people who need it. Oftentimes we're talking about an area that may not have the same financial infrastructure. To your point, Rumi, about, we're sort of talking about how we send each other money. What if I don't have a bank account? Like, where are you going to wire those funds to me? Are you going to deliver a brown bag full of cash? Like, sometimes these things just logistically can be different. And BitGo actually powers a number of applications, a number of companies who are focused on this. Like, how do we get funds into the hands of the unbanked and underbanked? And Bitcoin, as an example, is a great way to sort of empower some of that. that giving, that distribution of benefits.
Right. And Donna, I'm sorry, go ahead. Was that, Stephen, was that you?
Yeah, it just reminded me of a funny story talking about cash. I mean, a lot of people I don't think realize in parts of the world just how difficult banking is, or difficult electronic banking is. And we once had a major fast food franchise come to us and want help allowing one of their franchise owners in another country pay their franchise bill. And we were stunned because what this person was doing, what the owner of that franchise, and this is a major fast food franchise, he would take cash, he would source dollars in that country, and then get on a plane with a bunch of physical dollars and fly to the United States, and then deposit those dollars into a bank account in the US, and then pay his franchise bill. And it just blew our minds that, you know, if you didn't know any better, you'd think the guy was up to no good or whatever, but he was just trying to pay his, you know, monthly franchise bill. And of course we said, yeah, we can solve that problem easily.
Great story.
Yeah.
Don, I was going to ask you in particular, not to fly the GiveTrack flag though, and talk a little bit about what GiveTrack is and how it fits here in this regard.
Right. So, you know, GiveTrack makes it, you know, easier for anybody holding Bitcoin, although Connie did say now we accept, currency via credit card as well. But what GiveTrack does is enable anybody to go and give their Bitcoin and give to the different charities that are our nonprofit partners and earmark those dollars for that. So one of the earliest projects that I remember that was really exciting to see was the water project, was, you know, getting clean water into remote villages in Africa. And what was amazing was, you know, you're able to donate the money and then you're able to watch the money go to actually building things, to, you know, buying the bricks, to, you know, creating this well. What was extra special was that Connie actually went there and was able to meet with the people. And so, you know, we were able to see this, you know, great videos of, you know, these actually happening with the school children, you know, around and having this built. And so it was just really empowering to see that, rather than dealing with the old centralized way of doing things where you had no insight, you turned it over to, and I'm really not hanging out, you know, a big entity, a big charitable entity, and then hope the money got to where it was going. You could see where it was going, and you got to see those immediate results and know that it went point to point from me to the people in that village to go and create that well and to provide clean water for, you know, the children and their parents. It was amazing. So if you haven't checked out GiveTrack, it is on, you know, bitgivefoundation.org. I'm incredibly proud to be a board member and really, really impressed with what GiveTrack was able to do to facilitate cryptocurrency being used for good.
Great. Thank you. As always, I encourage the audience to feel free to ask some Q&A as well. But now I'll turn a little bit into just the nuts and bolts of the process. So let's say, for example, someone is looking at the devastation right now in Central America with Hurricane Eta, and Iota says, I want to give, I can use some crypto. Like, what should I do? Where do I go? How do I start this? Stephen, can I start with you? Someone wants to just simply give in crypto. What should they do? Where do they turn?
If you're a donor, then you can go to bitpay.com/ let's see, I think it's /directory. And then in there we have a category for charities. BitGive's one of them. But, you know, there are a number of charities in there that you've heard of: American Red Cross, American Cancer Society, and others. Also, if you're a donor, there's another common thing that we see, which are donor-directed funds. So if you happen to want to donate to a charity that doesn't already accept cryptocurrency, what you can do is you can open up a donor-directed fund. And, you know, usually your brokerages, major brokerages and whatnot allow that. And then some of them, and they're not listed in our directory, but some of them do accept cryptocurrency. I'm not sure why they're not listed in their directory. They may not want the publicity, but just check. A few major brokerages have donor-directed funds, and they some of them do accept cryptocurrency, and you can basically load value in the form of cryptocurrency into that, and then of course it converts into dollars, and then from there you can send it to whatever charity you want. So we see that's a very common thing. We've had a few of those come to us over the years where they have a donor. You mentioned the Pineapple Fund, but a donor similar to that where they want to give some money, and they want to have a donor-directed fund, and then they talk to the brokerage or whomever they're using and get them to sign up with BitPay. If you want to accept donations, then you can go to bitpay.com and enroll, and just click the sign up button, and that'll get you started.
Great. Sounds very easy, doesn't it?
It actually can be very, very easy.
So then I'll ask the question, well, which, Bob, if you want to answer, or whoever wants to answer, well, what cryptocurrency do you utilize? I mean, Bitcoin isn't the only one, right? So which one is the best?
Well, that's an easy one. The best cryptocurrency you utilize is the one that you have. And that's the best one to accept from your donors as well, right? Like whatever it is that keeps the donations coming in. At this point, great providers out there who are going to help your charities collect these things, support dozens, if not 100 currencies. And you need not understand all of the mechanics behind each one. That's people like Steven's job. But it can be a very quick and simple process as we laid out. If I'm donating, I just need to know a destination. These are like public addresses, almost like a bank account number that's available publicly. And if you open an account with BitGo, you generate the address and you can put it right there on your website, because there's no risk in publicizing that public address. And your clients, assuming they've been onboarded to your platform, of course, can publicly, send whatever currency they have to whatever the appropriate address linked to their coin is, and it can be a pretty fast and seamless process. So that was a long-winded answer to what was a pretty simple question, but it's just all about how you can generate more benefit for the people you're trying to do good for.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to turn a little bit, then just kind of like looking ahead in terms of, what should be kept top of mind then when it comes to accepting crypto, when we think about the future of philanthropy with cryptocurrency. I know we've talked about some of the advantages, but if you're, for example, like a charity that's out there who may still be a little bit uncertain, the feeling that they need more education or there are too many unknowns, what do you want to tell them? What is really the key takeaways here as we're thinking about the future of digital giving? And I'll push an answer out into the eyes by saying, well, let's talk a little bit, for example, the universe of potential donors. Who gives to philanthropies currently, and how can crypto make a difference?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate a point Sonny had made earlier is to recognize that accepting cryptocurrencies may open up the world to a new sort of genre, a new vertical of donors that you may not have considered before. A lot of people have done really well in this space. The crypto community tends to be very engaged, very sort of socially active, philanthropic. So, when we think about who are our typical donors or who's sort of supporting our foundation, we think of high net worth individuals and family offices and these more traditional routes. There may be a whole new world of donors who really want to be engaged and active in your charity, who you can open up the possibility to by accepting cryptocurrency. So there's, this whole new world of sort of, novo rich individuals who are really socially engaged and they want to do good, and it only sort of benefits all of us. And I hope that sort of addressed the question you're getting at there, Rumi. But I think it's great.
I know, kind of a leading question there, but just the fact that we're going to see a number of new givers, right? And who are going to be able to give in different forms. So I think that's really exciting.
So, BitPay as a company, our business is to help businesses get more, customers and more revenues for their products and their services, and charities, same thing. The goal there is to get new donors and bring in more donations. And when you look at, what you can do with accepting crypto, you have to recognize that there are now tens of millions of users out there, tens of millions of people that have crypto. And there are hundreds of millions of dollars worth of hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crypto, or hundreds of billions of dollars worth of value stored in these blockchains. So, so that's, as a charity, that's what you have to keep in mind. There's a whole universe of wealth out there that they may be missing out on if they don't accept crypto for donations.
Right. Are there other things that get you excited about what can be done technologically with crypto giving versus normal stuff? I mean, for me, for example, one idea would be it doesn't have to be like a huge lump sum, right? It can even be just a smaller amount.
Yeah, I think that's an important point too. Yeah, exactly. So micropayments. So I think just to sum up my major points, I think biggest asset class has grown a lot of new money, new wealth. Second point is global and instant. Obviously, it's very easy to move around. If I had to pick a third, and I think maybe Don and some others alluded to it, traceability is obviously another benefit. You can see where the funds are going. And then I would say another massive one is the fact that you can, if you're giving to someone, it might be that a small amount in, let's say, Canada is a big amount in another country, right? And so traditionally Swift payments and the banking channel has only enabled larger amounts to be sent around the world. And so I think the fact that Bitcoin enables, a few pennies or even fractions of a pennies to be sent, for like a tweet that you put out, whatever it might be, I think it's super fascinating. And then the last thing, because you also asked about like future, Rumi, have you ever heard of something called microfinancing? Like the idea of like social credit. It's like social. Yeah. There's this guy named Muhammad Yunus who won like the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Grameen Bank is exactly. I actually had a chance to meet him. I mean, he wasn't so bullish on Bitcoin, but I would love to see something like microfinancing, which is essentially the idea that, let's say I like some guy's business idea. He wants to start something simple at the corner of his village. He needs $100 to do it. I give him $100, but then he pays me back the $100, not necessarily any interest on top of it. He gives me back the $100 once he's used that capital to build his business and generate revenue. And then I can use that $100 again for another person to help them, and kind of doing that over and over again. So I would love to see, something maybe on the blockchain, off the blockchain, I don't know, but like I think microfinancing finding its way on the blockchain would be interesting for me.
I love that. Right, I agree.
Like Kiva, I think, is one example. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead, Don.
No, you're fine. I wanted you to finish your thought.
Yeah, I'm done.
Just wanted to kind of trip down memory lane and think about how things keep, being different, and it's innovative. We used to have to pay our bills and do our charitable giving by check. They didn't take credit cards, and that was in, I think, all of our lifetimes, right? They didn't take credit cards. Then, oh my goodness, there was credit card payment, but there wasn't credit card charity. Then there was credit card charity, but they were still doing the old model of focused on high net worth individuals, high net worth individuals, high net worth individuals. Then they realized, oh, wait a minute, we can do these smaller, give $5 a month, give a cup of coffee a month. And now most organizations will tell you that the small amounts make up more of their funding than do the high net worth individuals. And so I really believe that the next wave then is what we're seeing here, right? Is being able to send, like you said, Sunny, right? With credit cards, you still have to do a significant amount in order to make it worthwhile. You do not have to do that with cryptocurrency. Right. And so now we can see a whole new level where we can go out and get, small, here's $1, here's a nickel, here's this, here's $5, and make it worth the charity's while. And, as everybody on the panel said, and open up to a whole bunch of people who want to give that previously, weren't able to give.
Right. Yep. And I do kind of on this point, we've got a great question in the Q&A, especially when we're talking about the new wave of donors, the crypto donors that are out there. The question is, what is the most effective way to target these new crypto givers? Are there certain platforms or messaging strategies that have proven to work better than others? The questioner says, I assume transparency and trust are critical. So jump ball, how do you best target new crypto givers? With what platforms or messaging strategies are effective?
I think at BitPay, that's our job. We more than just a payment processor, we view ourselves as an enabler for businesses and charities, or a subset of those businesses, to reach that crypto audience and market their products and their services to that audience. So in that sense, we're very much a marketing company. And I would say, you have to go to where the crypto users are. You have to understand the nature, the demographic of a typical crypto user, and speak to them in sort of their language. And I think certain charities are going to do well, and other charities probably not as well. You have to think about the type of person that is a typical crypto user. And that's growing to be a more and more diverse set of, type of person. Back in 2011, there was about 50 of us, and we were all kind of technology people and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think you just really have to, leverage the various platforms to, get the word out about whatever it is you're trying to raise money for.
I think, partnering with somebody like BitGive, who's been around for years,
right,
who actually is incredibly well respected, and I would say beloved by the community, to, run a program through and, target, a message that will specifically speak to the crypto community. I think that's where BitGive can be, a real asset and value add, and get that understanding, initially of the charity, of like how to reach the users, because that is a very important question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to Dawn's point, I mean, the cryptocurrency community, the sort of core community, is it's probably much tighter knit than you'd imagine. People tend to know one another, or they tend to be in the same places. Very strong social engagement community, social platform, so places like Twitter. But once you penetrate that market, if you have a trusted partner, whether that be BitGive, whether that be somebody else who's influential in the cryptocurrency community, once you've located it, once you can target it, penetrating it and sort of getting it in front of everyone who's in the community is actually probably a bit easier than some of the more fractured communities like high net worth individuals, where you may have to target them all over the place. You may have to have personal relationships. This is a community that's inherently sort of on technology, so in some ways it's easier to engage with them. Once if you go to Twitter, you're going to get a lot of cryptocurrency engagement. That's where the community happens to be. They're very decentralized, but we all sort of grew up around this technology in this space. So there are benefits. There are some challenges to entering there, but there are some benefits in that you can really get a lot of bang for your buck with great partners and well-respected people in our broader community.
I did want to just since I run a foundation that gives out millions of dollars every year. You brought up a really good point, Bob, is that, when you go after those high net worth individuals, it's costly. To go and, find them and create relationships there and everything, where if you're on Twitter, you're reaching a much larger market, all these channels are reaching a much larger market on a lot less spend.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, Bob. I didn't even think about that. So thank you.
And thank you. I realize we're just at time now. So I really appreciate all of your amazing insight, your thoughts, and your good efforts in this space. Keep up the Great work, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Again, for those that are interested in supporting BitGive and our work, you'll see the link to support us in the chat, and I'll turn it back to Connie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for hosting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much to each of our heavy hitter panelists. We have quite the lineup here. And to you, Rumi, for moderating this all-star panel. And again, thank you, BitPay, for sponsoring this panel. I'd also like to thank our sponsors again. I mentioned them earlier, but I know everyone's not with us the entire day. So wanted to thank our lead sponsor, Vesper by Block, our gold sponsors, BitPay and Vector Crypto Capital, our silver sponsors, BitGo, Elizabeth Rosiello, Axis Flip Crypto Financial, and Fidelity Charitable, as well as our event partners, Global Blockchain Business Council, Molens, Watkins, and Brandt, and Cryptomatic.